Hey, I'm Marcus.
And I'm Nick.
And I'm Sema.
And I'm Max. And this is a special edition podcast where the working class nerds here with Marcus and me and Sema have all teamed up. So we're going to talk a little bit tonight about Star Wars: The Old Republic. We're going to talk about our guild and gaming community, Alea Iacta Est, and a special con that we have going on this weekend. Our con we're really proud of, we're really excited about. So we're going to talk about that quite a bit. We are kind of live from the virtual con as it is right now. So that and more is coming up right now. Did you guys like my DJ mixing skills there?
I like it.
I got the two themes going together. Hey, it is awesome to be on. I know we've been on with you before, but not in a while. It is awesome to sort of do a joint show. So we did a custom overlay here. If you are listening this and not seeing it, you could take a peek on YouTube and see our faces as well as we're sort of podcasting together. So we're going to go through, some of the usual stuff, and talk quite a bit about the con. But let's kick it off by the usual question: What have you been up to? So, what have you been up to, Marcus?
I'm going first. I always thought it was ladies before gentlemen.
No, you're first.
Guests before hosts.
Ooh,
step it up.
All right. So I have been playing a lot of Swtor these past probably 2 weeks. I have been doing a lot of hard mode raiding. We just killed the Huntmaster on hard mode in the newest operation, which is Duxon, which has been pretty awesome. And then we killed, we're working on the fourth boss of the Ravagers operation, which is Master Blaster. And that has really been an eye-opening experience because that's like a lot of mechanics. It's almost like the Revan fight where like you have to be very, very, very precise on mechanics. And if you're not, and you're standing one square to the left, you're dead. You stand one square to the right, you killed the healer. And it's kind of, or if you stand in 2 steps over, you're getting shot into the electric fence or going off the edge of the map. So it's been a really big learning experience, especially tanking, because that pretty much control fight. So that's pretty much my Swtor stuff. And then I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy 14. A friend of mine, Doc, has been playing that a lot. And, when it's 11 o'clock at night and raid night is over and I'm not tired and I see him playing it, I'm like, maybe I'll load in. And then you end up loading into a game for 2 hours and you're like, well,
right.
Where has it been? And then the last thing I've been up to is I've been doing a lot of prep for the AIE Con with the board games, playing Forgotten Waters, led by Albus. He's a great friend of ours, and he's hosting the board game nights. And that Forgotten Waters game is a pirate tabletop game, and he's figured out a way to do it completely virtually. And we had so much fun these past couple of weeks just doing like little tastes of what it is. See the gameplay, understand it, and try to perfect it so it was ready for the con, which is going on right now.
Cool. Are you singing a lot of sea shanties? That's the hotness on the interwebs this past week.
I'm a big R guy, so everywhere. The coolest little shout out for the what's cool about the board game is each player can pick its own kind of pirate. And I just happen to be the skeleton pirate, and like the backstory and everything. It's just hilarious. Everything that he says and does, it's just hilarious because he's a skeleton, but he doesn't want to be a skeleton. But if you want to know more, I think there's a couple slots open for the Saturday night, and you get to play with me, and hopefully we can hook Nick to come back and do a little R tomorrow night.
I would love to. I had a lot of fun playtesting Forgotten Waters. I think what was mine, the Seer pirate or something to that effect, my pirate could sort of see like prophecies into the future, and of course I picked the avatar that had an eye patch and only had one eye, and I called myself Three-Eyed Vic or something like that. To
awesome.
just have the whole character wrapped in irony. But
Nick, what have you been up to?
so I have been consuming some Star Wars content that's set a few thousand years in the future from you guys. I finished today, actually, on my way home from work. I finished the Light of the Jedi audiobook today, set in the High Republic.
It was so
Oh.
good.
Really?
Yes,
It
indeed.
was so good.
It was great. I will say the probably first 2 acts of the book were a little slow, but I'll forgive it because it's the first big content we get in this whole time frame, right? So it's got to do a lot of like world building,
Yes.
setting the stage for like the entire like Jedi hierarchy and the new Republic, or like I should say, this new sort of version of the Republic's hierarchy that we're not used to seeing. They're just barely sort of getting the Outer Rim like involved with the Republic. So it spends a good deal of time sort of building the world and the sort of conflict that's happening within those first couple of acts really progresses slowly so that you can build the world as this conflict is sort of happening. So the pacing is a little tough if just from like an objective book standpoint, but I didn't really care because it's new Star Wars and it's a whole sort of introduction to a new, universe of Star Wars. So
We are all the Republic.
exactly. We are all the Republic. After that, it explodes with excitement and content and conflict. And it like maybe the last 5 or 6 hours of the book, I think it's like 14 hours total or something like that, are just like it totally makes up for how slow the first chunks are. Because now you're in this universe, you know all the characters, you know the stakes, and then like the tables get like what you think is going to happen is not what happens, and it's extraordinarily exciting. And of course, it ends on a cliffhanger, so like lead you into the next series of books about the High Republic and comics and things like that. And I just can't wait to get more High Republic content.
Load in Great Storm.
I know.
Sema, I think we should grab that book and
I'm
make
doing
it
that. I'm putting
make
it
a
in my
segment.
library right now. Yeah, I'm putting it in my library
Absolutely.
as we speak.
100% worth
Yeah.
a listen.
Do you guys do the audiobooks or do you read the books?
I do some of both. I do a lot of audiobooks, but I have for the past 4 months or so, I kept a paper book by my bed, and I'm liking to go to paper before I go to sleep to get the the digital out of your face, which is in theory good for you. So, but I have a huge collection of old sci-fi and fantasy paperbacks, Hugo and Nebula Award winners for years and years. So I'll probably get this on audio, but I would do it on paper. I wouldn't shy away from it.
So I did that. Go ahead, Sema.
I'm all Audible all the way, but I don't have digital in my face when I'm doing it. I don't have anything in my face when I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do the earbuds and then just pace around the house and like go do your shopping and everything?
I do that if I have certain activities that are like book worthy, right? If the activity requires too much focus, then I don't like to listen to a book. I'd rather listen to anything else. And then at night when I go to bed, I use like a Bluetooth speaker.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to sleep with the earbuds.
Totally get you. I end up finding earbuds like in my pillowcase somehow the next day. I'm like, how did this fish in there?
Or worse, you get somewhere else and you don't have them because one's under the pillow.
Exactly. I've been there before too. Or it's like in the hood of my hoodie that I fell asleep in or something.
But what's crucial
laundry basket.
is the sleep timer. Like I set a bookmark and then I put the sleep timer on, and the next day I know I can always go back to the bookmark even if I fell asleep immediately.
Oh, that's smart.
Magic.
Wow. That's some
Pro move
Audible.
right there.
That's some advanced Audible
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
tactics there.
She just leveled up.
Yeah.
I started
Seema's on
reading.
the Jedi Council of Audible users. Sorry, Marcus. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I'm about chapter 10 or 12 in reading it, but I did finish the book on Audible. So it's
You're
just
doing
exciting.
both.
Yes.
I think I'd like to go back and read the physical book. One of my, besides the sort of slow start, which I did really is like a nitpick because it's the first book in this entire timeline that we're, the first content we're getting in this timeline, like I said. But besides that, on audiobook, it was tough for me to remember precisely like the backstory for characters, because I'm just hearing this name and they're all sort of, Star Warsy names. So they're sort of vague, and it's not like, oh, Sam Smith is the one that has the green lightsaber and John, Black has the, blue saber. So they're all sort of vague names, and they get sort of mushed together sometimes, but I think I would do better differentiating them if I was reading the names, visibly.
Yeah. That is an issue with all like science fiction and fantasy.
Carbunkian Slamblaster says blood.
Exactly.
It's like, who is that now?
Yeah.
Which one is
if he was named Carbunkian Slamblaster, then I remember that.
Right.
Well, that's what I think they should do. They should, like, if you're gonna do that and know that your books are gonna be on Audible, really, it's like make one of the characters like Bart. And make one of the characters like Slibberderbadaba.
Right. Instead they make one of them Bart and one of them Heart.
Like the bad guy should be named something like really bad, like Killer McStab Your Face, and then the good guy be named, light side, iron, solid heart. And all right, we're way deep here. We're still in what we've been doing. What have you been up to, Sema? What have you been doing?
Well, a lot of the same things that you've been doing, but I'll start by saying we had our mandatory fun night on Tuesday, where we went around and killed world bosses around in the galaxy, and we had a guest leader for the night, Lucy, who did an awesome job because BC had to work, so Lucy stepped in at the last minute and took over, which we're all very appreciative of, because when you do world bosses, there is an appreciable amount of cat herding. However, our cats were very well behaved on Tuesday, so it was a fun night. Afterwards, we both made new characters, me and Lucy. Lucy's was named Susie, and mine was named Lima. I mean, do you get it? You get it?
I get it.
But yeah, so then last night or Thursday night was our operations night, and I know Max has some stuff to say about that, but we've been going to Dread Palace veteran mode off and on for a while now, if we had everyone there. And last night we had a really good night. We decided to focus and not be our normal clown party self for the first 4 bosses, so that we had time to have some practice on the last boss, and we ended up killing him. So we're still on cloud 9 over that one.
Yeah, cleared the place on hard mode. And what was the turning point, Sema? What pushed us over the edge? What was the determining factor which put us on the right track? It was Corley's boots, right? And here they are on the screen.
Absolutely. He wore his red boots.
So apparently he was telling us he was putting together an outfit and didn't have time to finish it, but he was wearing these weird red boots, and everybody's like, "Whoa, those are some spectacular red boots you got there, Corley." And everybody's like so focused on Corley's boots, and we ended up like plowing through these vet mode bosses and cleared vet mode Dread Palace as a result. So they are now our lucky boots, Corley. Unfortunately, I think you're going to need to be wearing those forever at this
for
point.
all Apex bosses.
Yeah, so we are.
But what I was leading up to is that's what we kept saying, that we were going to focus so that we could get through the first 4 bosses. Oh. And Carly's like, no, be your normal selves. Do it your normal way. He basically kept us on track so that we weren't trying to be something that we weren't.
Yes.
And we did have. And it was a fun night. We even potentially said, well, maybe we should experiment. There's a movie out right now, and I forgot what the name of the movie is again, but it's from Scandinavia or Netherlands, about these teachers who decide, based on a philosopher, that the appropriate permanent blood alcohol content for optimal operation of a human is 0.05%. So they decide that they're going to like day drink. Another round.
And another round. That's the name of the movie. They're gonna day drink and see how it affects their personal lives and their work lives. And So we were speculating if we still didn't clear vet mode last night, we were potentially going to have to go to the join the 0.05 club and
try again
to drink to clear it. But we did.
Well, it's completely hats off to you guys, because the council fight is there's a lot going on, and it's very different than story mode, which I'm sure you guys have cleared it before, but to do it again now in the 6.0 era, just how you have the extra jobs of having to go to the altar and come back and all of those extra things. And then the DPS check at the end. It's a good feat. Congratulations.
Yeah. So that was fun. That's what that was a key focus of mine this week was that MFN, some of the general stuff in game. And Sema and I keep having side rants about inventory management and how it should work. So there's a little bit of that this week.
Oh God. I did spend about an hour on one character going through her inventory. And it's like, that is not fun.
I have to ask, what do you do about it? Because
I don't know. What I did this time, I went through and just vendored everything. I'm just so sick of it now.
Well, because when you're doing the operations or flashpoints is what makes it really hard. Because if you start a flashpoint or an operation, your inventory is full before the end, and you can't even accept the rewards. So why not just
reverse engineer anything if your inventory is full either? You have to delete something.
Well, I'm looking at your screen, Max, and it's the renowned crates. Why can't those stack? That's what I don't know. Is why can't they just stack? That's actually a good idea.
If those crates stack, the problem is you can look in a stack. You can look in not these crates, but the other crates. You can look in and close it, so you can't stack them because they have their inventory is already separate. But yes, it's a problem. This was empty. This was empty before Ops Nights. At least these first 5 rows were empty before Ops Night started last night. So
that's what I mean.
Yeah, and I was reverse engineering stuff all night, deconstructing. All right, so exciting stuff for all of us, and yes, tons of con stuff is what I've been working on a ton this week, and we'll get to that in the second half of the show. But hey, what do you guys say?
He made me think, so I looked up at my achievements. The first time I killed Dread Council on veteran mode was in 2014.
Yeah, and I think you were even a little bit before I was, which I was surprised at. Mine was 2015, I think. But I killed them back then too.
Wow.
Yeah.
2014, I think. I don't. Yeah.
But
you just started to play
stuff back then.
No, I'm trying to remember when Julia was born.
All right, let's get into just a little bit of news.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
So we'll mostly skip over the bug tracker stuff. Nothing all that interesting. I noticed Jackie's still posting quite a bit of forum cleanup, forum organization, replying to stuff in the forums. The one thing that I saw that was interesting, and I don't know what you guys think about this, she posted a post in, I don't even know what forum it was, but on the official forums about, it's just like a social chat. It's like, what are you guys going to do in 2021? I'm going to, read some books and, and cook, take up cooking. So it's not out of band, off topic kind of fun post, which I don't mind. And I think maybe that's an effort to spice up the forums and make them more social. What do you guys think of that?
I'm torn about the whole, trying to inject life into the forums.
Yeah. I'm kind of torn too. I mean, I appreciate that she's trying something different. I wouldn't. So there's two things that I feel are kind of weird. Is why bother with this to have that happen in the forums? I mean, do it on Twitter. We'll follow you, Jackie. We'll go there and do it somewhere else that's social. Don't bother to try to do that in the forums. Keep the forums focused on the game and the kind of feedback that we're trying to make happen there. I guess
personally, I feel like they should create a Discord. That's what everybody uses. That's the new forum of the world, and they could make a really good Discord with all of the sub channels and be able to portray what they want, and could be a really active community. And I think it would work better than the forums.
That's why I'm torn. It's like I'm not sure forums is a great platform, but given that they that's their direction, that's the way they want to go. I guess I'm in support of any effort to make it a nicer place, a more pleasant place to visit. Like, I don't go there except to prepare for this podcast, because why would I?
Right.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think moving any of that discussion to a more popular platform like Discord or Twitter, probably Discord, I think would be the best spot as well.
Yeah.
I agree with you guys.
I just feel like the forums, the only people on the forums are the negative Nancys of the world. And I've never, how about this? I've only posted on the forums one time in all the years.
Sure.
And Forza in the chat is right. He only reads the dev tracker.
Yeah,
Me too.
That's a good point. Yeah.
That's pretty much all I read as well.
I mean,
but
I feel like one of the reasons why the forums have been taken over by, like you say, Marcus, the negative Nancys, is that the rest of us do not post there. And we've talked about this before. If we wanted to, we could make the forums ours, but we don't want to.
Right.
Essentially.
It's
because there's way more of us.
Right.
And by us, I mean
we could be the change we want to see. Yes, and we could turn it into some, positive, interesting social place. But forums are like the 10 years old now, or like 10 years gone at this point. And
10 years gone.
Nobody uses forums anymore. This next one we can just mostly skip over. I haven't used any of them yet, but now we're getting a reward, the rampage boost. I didn't realize exactly what it did. It's a clarification on what it does. So you can do conquest rampage objectives, the NPC ones, not when you're killing players. And it basically gives you two kill credit on the conquest objective for everyone.
No, it doesn't. It absolutely does not.
They count for 2 kills each for
but
NPCs.
not for conquest.
For what then?
It's for achievements.
Oh wait, this is it. Maybe this is why they had to clarify. Oh,
yeah,
it's rampage achievement boost. Yes, sorry, not conquest boost.
Yeah, when I first saw it, I thought it was conquest too. I hadn't read it yet.
Affect conquest objectives.
See,
that's really that's like we were talking about with the audiobooks. They named it Bart and Blart.
Yeah.
Except in this case, they named it Bart and Bart.
Yeah, I didn't even know they were called rampage achievements. I saw rampage and I thought conquest.
Yeah,
that's the problem. Rampage. I mean, are the achievements even called rampage? They're not. Whatever.
No, they're not called rampage anymore, which is why they probably felt the word was up for grabs.
So what are they called now?
They're just called defeat enemies or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm gonna get you, Zerka. was one of the achievements. Terrace eradication, defeat 5,000 non-player opponents while on Terrace. That's the achievement. It's nothing about rampage. So to call the boost rampage, which is what they call the conquest things. Yeah. Okay. So there you go.
So if you have to kill 5,000 enemies, you're only going to have to kill 2,500.
Or the achievement. Yeah. Yes. Well, that's good for our achievement hunters.
Well, I guess, but isn't the whole point of the achievement the travel to get there?
And the journey you actually killed. Yeah,
right, the journey. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, you don't go into hard mode Dread Palace and try to beat the boss until Corley puts on the red boots.
That's right.
He didn't use a buff that gives him fake red boots.
A Wookiee hugging boost. I would use it. I would not complain. I would pop that boost.
If it was like a 500% boost. Yeah.
500.
If it was like 1,000% boost, maybe.
That's another thing. Like the Wookiee thing is and I'm not an achievement hunter. If I have 2 hours to play in game, I'm not going to run around for 2 hours and try to hug 1,000 Wookiees. That's just not in the cards.
That's cool. It's cool that there's things that not everybody wants to do or that you
Right.
don't want to do everything.
Right. Yeah, for sure. But
It's
if there was
that's what I like about it. It's a big world.
right, and if there was a boost for that, I'm sure people would be happy because now they only have to hug 500.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Like me.
Now, this next news item, this one is interesting, and I do know what's going on here, and I'm not just spouting lies like I did.
like on the previous one.
So this next one, they are making some changes to Guild Conquest and the way it operates for specific cases where you're bringing new people into your guild. So what the change is there's a little bit of a cooldown when you bring someone into the guild that they don't start contributing and they can't win Guild Conquest until the next week, for one. For two, if you kick them out of the guild, if you G-kick them, the guild loses their conquest points. If they G-quit, the guild keeps their conquest points. I don't know if you guys know, but this came out of some bad behavior that was going on in the past month or so. As these conquest changes went into place, you get a ton of conquest points as you level up. And what was happening was there were a couple guilds out there that sort of reformed themselves and reinvented themselves. Not any of the old school conquest guilds. Those guys are all the ones who brought this to the community's attention. So like Sanctuary was doing the right thing and not abusing new players like this. But what these other guilds would do is they would invite new players on the starter planets that are new to the game to the guild, sort of scoop up and use them up and use up all their conquest points, and then kick them out at the end of the week. So that they could get the next batch of brand new players and use up all of their conquest, add all of their conquest points to their total so they could win a planet. So not only were they sucking these people in and taking advantage of their points, but they were kicking them out before these new players could even get the reward, the conquest reward, and leaving them in this weird state of, hey, I just joined the game. Somebody invited me to this guild, and now they kicked me out, and I don't know what's going on, and maybe I don't like this game anymore. So it was bad for the game, bad for the community, and the BioWare really moved fast to put these changes in place. A couple people are complaining about some of the changes, especially that cooldown one. It's character specific and not like legacy. So if you add one of your alts into the guild, it doesn't get the guild reward until the following week. It doesn't get this week's guild reward, but they had to pick some approach, and that's what they've gone with so far. And at a minimum, this will prevent that bad behavior, which I appreciate.
So my opinion on the whole conquest thing is, I think this is them making conquest so easy has actually invited foul play because it's so easy to get the points now, where before I remember, it would be, okay, are we actually going to do a large planet this week? Let's look at what the options are for us to do, and then we would make that decision. Now you sign in and you hit conquest, and I feel like it's opened the doors for bad behavior because it's so easy to get. And the conquest system, in my opinion, has really been hard on small guilds since the change, or even before. Well, no, since the change, because the large guilds would have to go after one giant planet because they would need the points. But now conquest is so easy to rack up points. They're taking over, multiple planets a week. Yeah. Because of multiple characters. Sorry for the rant.
No. And it's hard. I don't begrudge those big guilds doing their thing by any means, but something that could put more people into the game, of the game of conquest would be interesting. And in fact, there was a comment in the thread going on behind this change where someone said, hey, what if you took away the connection between winning a planet? So you don't have to win the planet to get the achievement. So it's not all just based around who wins the planet. Maybe it's if you invade the planet 10 times as a guild, you get credit for the achievement. Or just thinking about ways so that more guilds could participate in that idea of getting all of those achievements. And we don't, it doesn't turn out to be the only way that you can do it is you got to put a character in Sanctuary on Jedi Covenant, which is sort of the way it is now. I think that would be interesting. Final bit of news, which I'm not all that interested. Look, I'm stuck here. I'm gonna get killed in the game.
No, only if you're in combat.
The final bit of news was the PTS was updated. So they gave us some notes on what was updated for the PTS, and it's a list of updates. So here's the list of updates. It's like bug fixes to some of these boss fights. Still, we don't have any listing of like what's changed. What the point was they were changing the rewards and they were changing the balance for some reason. And we still don't have enough of a description, I don't think, on. I'm taking a deep breath here. Still don't have enough of a description, I don't think, on what their objectives were. As you pointed out, Sema, that would be good to know. What was the design goal? Why did you decide to do this, for one? For two, when you say you rebalanced it for 75, did you just make everything harder and it's going to take 10 times as long? Or is it supposed to take 5 times as long, or the same amount of time as it was taking 2 weeks ago? And the big one for me is we've changed the rewards. Okay, and they even said, I think, increased. Did you add like 10 credits? Because I don't get out of bed for anything less than than armor sets at this point. You would have to like put 1 million credits per boss for me to pay attention to credits. But the armor sets. So are you going to give me the chance to get a piece of Apex Predator and Uprisings? That would be a game changer. If I have a chance of getting my last 2 Apex Predator pieces, the belt and the boot and the pants, I would go do Uprisings. Otherwise,
you mean like if it was a presence stem that wouldn't influence you?
Yeah. What do you mean? But I don't. So we don't know. We don't know, and they're not telling us, and that we don't know. So,
but we know now because they said it's going to be reasonable.
I feel yeah, but I feel as if that at this point in the 6.0 era, I feel as if all the gear sets should be available everywhere. So even if it's a rare chance, I feel as if you're doing an Uprising landing party, you should be able to have a 1 in 500 chance of getting the Apex Predator boots, or even for me on the PT tank, which had emergency power, that should have a chance to drop. All gear should be available with a rare chance in those things to give people the opportunity to get it.
Well, to be clear, it is. You can get Apex Predator out of story mode Karaga's Palace. It's very rare, but it happens. And in fact, the SOL ops team, I think, saw 2 pieces of Apex Predator in the past 2 weeks. I haven't seen any drop anywhere in months, but that's just me.
But I mean, I think Marcus meant also flashpoints.
Oh, well, just everywhere.
Anywhere and everywhere. Yeah.
At this point, we were just talking about the inventory boss. The inventory boss is killing us. At least give us a reason to want to keep emptying the inventory box to try to get the pieces of gear that we all want.
And maybe at some point just stop with the 302, 304 pieces that nobody wants. I'm not going to want it, and it's only filling out my inventory. If you just didn't give me those and gave me a 1% higher chance of getting a piece of something I actually wanted, maybe that would help the inventory issue too.
I mean, even someone like me with a lot of alts, I'm never going to want 302 or 304. It's not like you have to level up your alts using 302 and 304. You only need those on your very first character. So it's very limited usefulness other than for tech fragments.
Right.
And in my case, credits, because now I'm just vendoring them.
All right. I think that's enough news. And I think we'll skip over the guild news because that's about what we're about to talk about for the second half of the show. I certainly do want to say a shout out to the chat room. We've got, like 35 people that have been bouncing in on the chat room here. It's very cool that everybody's coming and joining us on a Friday night, special edition. We've got two podcasts joining up here. I think that's pretty fun. Thank you, everyone. We'll hang out for a couple minutes after, and then we want to pull all of you into our Guild Con as well. So keep an ear out for that. We're going to be talking about that in just a second.
Before we jump into that, Nick, can you tell me what's coming next Friday night, January 29th?
I'm so glad that you asked. Next, it's Friday, and it's mega. It's the monthly Epic Guild activity, January 29th. Guess what? We're conquering world bosses.
Nice.
Amazing. Will I need my whole seat that night, Nick?
Absolutely not. You will sell you the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge.
Sweet. Well done.
Sorry.
Well done.
Thanks, Nick. I needed that.
Anytime. I'm always good for a good mega.
All right. I don't have a special drop in for our con.
This is the way.
We'll have to think up something. We'll have to come up with some music, some theme songs, and everything for the con in the future. But let's get into it a little bit. So as we kicked off the show, we mentioned it. If you are around 2 hours ago, we actually did a Guild Town Hall, and that will go up on our Guild YouTube channel, where we talked a little bit about what's going on in the Guild in general. It's a broad community. We went over the status of about 10 different games and MMOs that we all play, but we talked about this con. So this con was an idea that we came up with a few months ago when we decided that here we are in the middle of winter. We expect by this time in the winter, we are all going to be, it's going to be dark and cold, and we are going to be bored. And what could spice it up? Maybe getting together for a virtual version of the kind of thing that we've done in person in the future. In fact, I have a picture here of one of the old school in-person cons that we used to do as AIE. So this is Nerdtacular, which used to happen in July, going back, for about 5 or 6 years. It happened through about 2017 or 2018 was the last one, I think, in Utah. And we would have up to a couple hundred people from AIE that would be attending. And it was slightly broader community than that, included all the listeners of the Frog Pants podcast. But we can't do that. We can't meet in person. So we decided, let's do this virtual version of the con. So, Marcus, you were a big part of coming up with the ideas of what we could do here. Why don't you kick it off by talking a little bit about the tracks that we settled on, and we'll even show some of the things that we've got.
Well, the behind the scenes, the officer group for AIE was all together one night, and we were talking about we want to do another event because we hosted one a few months ago. Now it was a streaming event where all of the games were played via Twitch, and they, and everybody watched all the games that we play as a community. And then somebody brought up a con idea, and with the pandemic that's going on, we said, well, we can do it digitally, and it all kind of just took its own life. And then we decided on doing casual games, which is like Jackbox, Among Us. Then we decided on board games, Dungeons and Dragons. We have some panels that's happening, and then our podcast mashup, and it kind of all came to fruition. And it's been so much fun watching this prep, and now we're live in it. If you go into our Discord right now, the channels are full of all these different things going on, and it's going to be happening all weekend. So it's a pretty cool experience right now.
You all have been to cons before. Nick, you've been to game. Have you been to game cons before? Any gaming convention?
Marcus and I have both been to PAX East together twice as working class nerds.
did you ever get into and do like there's two parts of a con, and we kind of have both parts. There's like the panels and the presentations and the things you go and watch, and then there's the side things that you go and do. You jump in on some games, or you test some games out, or that kind of thing. Have you done much of the side things? Like, have you ever done like a D&D thing on the side in a con?
So I have. Marcus and I sat in and watched probably about, I'm not realizing it was about half of a game of Star Wars Legion, which is a pretty awesome tabletop game. At the first PAX East we went to, that was really amazing. It was tough to like sit through the whole thing because it takes about an hour to play through a substantial like amount of a Legion game at the time. But it sort of stuck in my brain, going forward after that. And now I play Star Wars Legion with one of my good friends, Joey Feta, friend of the Working Class Nerds podcast, almost every week. So absolutely. And one of Marcus and I's favorite things to do at PAX East was to go around all of the indie booths and play lots of just little games you could play for 20 minutes or 10 minutes or something like that, and just get some fun, quick enjoyment. And I think this AIE Con that we're putting on here is capturing sort of both aspects of that. You've got these board games you can jump in for an hour or so and have your own unique story, particularly with Forgotten Waters. But then you also have some of these, or Dungeons and Dragons, of course. But then you also have, some of these more sort of quick, fun, like just get it with a group of people and have some awesome interactions with Among Us, or the Jack in the Box games are some of my favorites as well. I played a bunch of those in college. So I think it's really cool how we're doing a good job of incorporating both those aspects of the cons,
Yeah. A big one for me is, PAX East is where we met Corley for the first time, like in real life. And he was wearing a crab hat. and he was like, and I said, well, where are you? And he says, I'm over here. And, I said, well, where? He goes, you'll find me. I'm wearing a crab hat. I said, what do you mean you're wearing a crab hat? And he goes, I'm wearing a crab hat. And then we found him and it was awesome. But for myself, the panels, not the last two PAXs I went to, I always did panels because I would stay for the whole weekend. In these past two with my little kids, I've only been able to go for one day, and we just spend the night and do we did a guild town. We did a guild dinner where there was 6 of us from the guild that all got together and had dinner that night, which was awesome too. But one of the most, I would say, influential panels I went to was Dark Horse Comics. They had a panel, and I'm a huge fan of the Mass Effect series, and they had a panel where they actually did a comic live, and they had some of the BioWare team there. It's like why some of the characters look the way they do. And it was like a complete backstory further into the lore of Mass Effect. So you're right in saying that the con, there's your expo hall, but there's so much that's happening on the backside of that you can experience. And we're kind of doing the backside of that experience right now.
Yeah.
That's going on right now.
Yeah. We're one of, well, no, we're like what we're doing right now is a main stage.
Yeah.
we're main staging it up right now. But yeah, that back hall was where so much of the fun happens, and the meeting, meeting people, playing with people. So that's kind of cool.
Head crab. Sorry, Corey.
Our main stage stuff. Sema, why don't you talk about the panel that Albus is putting together, and then Marcus can talk about the other one. Okay. I think that's an amazing part of what's going on too.
So my experience with cons has always been virtual, and starting with BlizzCon. And one of my favorite parts about BlizzCon are the panel discussions. And so we are definitely having those here in our little con. And Albus put together basically 2 people from the board game industry. One is a developer who, I believe, if I don't want to say this wrong, but I believe he's the developer of Forgotten Waters, which is one of the games we're
I think
playing.
so. Yeah, that's what Albus said tonight.
And then another guy who's in the industry in some fashion. So I think it's going to be really interesting, the board game panel.
Right. It's an actual industry panel with industry professionals coming in.
It's not just us
it's
talking
just
about.
Supposed to be some goofy
Monopoly.
weekend where we're going to get together and play D&D as a gaming guild. And now we've got that's just one of them. Marcus, talk about the second one that's lined up.
Yeah.
So I will tell you about what the panel is, but Nick, tell everybody the story of Nick Iarafino and Bactian Games in PAX East and how we came to meet them.
Okay, so Marcus and I, we got to go in the Wayback Machine to, what year is that? 2018, something like that?
Yeah, 18 or 19.
So 2018. It's Marcus and I's first PAX East. Is my first gaming convention ever. And our feet are super tired. We kind of prepared, kind of did not for the amount of walking. And we're in the mini game section at PAX East. And for backstory, my father's name is Norm. He's a, early 60s gentleman, likes video games too. It's a little bit crotchety, as most early 60s-year-old gentlemen can be. So anyways, Marcus and I, we're tired. We're looking to play mini games, or indie games, I should say. And we stumble across this booth that has 4 giant exercise balls to sit on while you're playing their game. And lo and behold, we're like, oh, great. We make a beeline over there. We can sit. We can play this game for 10 minutes, rest our feet. We look up at the sign and it says Norm's Night in the Cave, featuring an early 60s gentleman with gray hair as the main character. We're like, what is this awesome game? This is just like Mark's uncle and my dad. So then we sit down, we meet Nick Iarafino, one of the, lead developers / owners of Bactian Games. I always forget how to pronounce that. It's the type of camel that has 2 humps. And we went from there. We ended up really, really liking this very unique sort of mechanic in this side-scrolling platformer that they developed, where this character, Norm, he's retired and owns a bowling store, and you take the bowling ball, it's touchscreen controls or mouse click controls. You click the ball from his hand, drag it away from him, and the bowling ball is magical and flings the opposite direction that you sort of dragged it, and it flings your character to platform through the various levels. And there's all kinds of different, of course, mechanics that make it more complicated and challenging. But it was all of a sudden, Marcus and I looked up and it was like a half hour, 45 minutes later, and we were still playing, and there's a line of people behind us. We're like, whoop.
I love that.
We essentially got drawn in to sit for a second in the catchy name, and then we ended up super duper loving the game itself, and it went from there. And we've had Nick on Working Class Nerds twice now to talk about Norm's Night in the Cave. And
the first time he came on, it was right after PAX East, and they were still not ready for a launch. And then the second time they came on, it was as they were launching. It was days before the game launched. And what was sweet is we kind of got a playtest build of the game, which Max, you probably understand that a little bit better than I do, but the game wasn't complete. So I think there was a few bugs that we ran into, but I was terrible at the slingshot anyways. And to hear his story on how they came to be making a video game, it was awesome. And tomorrow night, Saturday night, at 7 p.m. Eastern, Nick is coming on for a interview / panel on how to make an indie game. So if you've ever wondered what it's like and how these people come to make a game, and for me, what I'm really interested in learning is how do you even get it on Steam, and how do you even get it on the iTunes? That's it. So on the screen right now, Max has got the game, and I can't wait to find out about, what it takes to be able to make these games and then get them on all these platforms for people. So I'm really looking forward to that.
And this,
I'm watching the mechanics.
You can only get from AIE Guild. Well, not only, but you can get it from AIE Guild, which I think is just so awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. So we've got,
look at the mechanics in this.
It's so crazy. I'm entirely mesmerized.
Now I can see what you meant when you described it as a slingshot platformer. It's
a very unique mechanic.
And by touch, as a mobile game, by touch with your finger, as you're sort of using that slingshot mechanic to move it around, that makes a ton of sense now. Cool.
You ever get into something and you have 5 minutes? This game does it because you do, like, let's say each puzzle is just a small piece of the level. So I would do 2 or 3 puzzles and then stop, and it pauses where it is. And then the next time you pick it up, it's the same thing. So it's one of those games that you can drop and pick up. And yes, Coralie, this is awesome. The game I sent you for Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah. This is awesome. So this is, panels, live podcasts. We've got this one tonight. We're going to have the AIE podcast on Sunday. And then all of the games, I'll put the schedule back up again. I think it's just super cool and super fun. I know this is a Star Wars both of our podcasts are Star Wars podcasts, so we'll talk a little bit about Star Wars here for our last 15 minutes too. But I'm just so happy that we got here. I really appreciate everybody here's his help. Marcus, pushing the idea and helping get some of the stuff together. Sema was on the team that was driving it, and a ton of people across the leadership and guildies like Val and Albus to make it happen. We'll see how it goes. I'll give it 2 all rights so far. We'll see if we get all 3 all rights by the end of the weekend. All right. And see where we're at. But I'm impressed that we got this far. So cool.
It's awesome. And just as a reminder, please go to the Discord and see, because there are some openings for some of these things still. So get in there. And if you're listening to this, I'm going to, once we get the files, we're going to get this thing posted to the podcast world on our end as fast as we can tomorrow to hopefully we get people to be able to hear the podcasts before the weekend's over.
That is awesome. Who is Ashley in game right now?
I don't know.
Ashley just traded me a Rhodian mayo sandwich, which is amazing. So this is someone who must know me.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is the one thing about the con that has really opened my eyes is time zone changes. When you're trying to coordinate with people, and you want to talk about it's about the size of AIE in the gaming community that we are.
Yeah.
There's so many people
That's a good point.
From different parts of the world, coordinating, it used to be when I was younger, it was, hey, Nick, want to do something? Sure. I'll pick you up at 3:00. Perfect. Now, hey, Max, or hey, Coralie, you want to do something? Sure. I'll see you at 3:00. And I'm sitting in the Discord going, do. It's 3:00.
Right.
And I finally ping him and he's like, no, it's only 2:00. And I'm like, no, it's 3:00. And that is where the whole time zone war started, and trying to make everybody's schedule work to be able to coordinate this. And this is the hats off to all the members involved, is incredible, because my 9:00 might be California's 6:00 or 10 a.m. in Australia.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, we have a fair number of people who are Australia, New Zealand. We have people in Europe. We have people all over the globe that are regular members. Part of the leadership team. We've got officers, multiple officers who are in Australia, for example. It's so even just getting let's have an officer meeting. Can't just pick a random time. It's in the middle of the night for somebody. Like half the day is in the middle of the night for somebody.
How about Ashley in the chat? Is she's listening to the podcast on their way to work? Greetings from Australia.
There you go. It's the future, listening from the future, Ashley. Yeah, we've got a good number of people from Australia, a lot of Canadians, and a fair number of people across the rest of the world too. So that is super cool. All right, just to close it out and make sure we can bring it back to Star Wars here. This kind of these kinds of events we have incorporated into the sort of like the more of the MMO style con stuff that we've done and the events that we've made. The the stuff that we make and we create, we've done it in games too. And I'm sure we'll do a version, and we've got our summer events that we always do with the guild where we make these things up. We're here in the Slippery Slopes Cantina on Nar Shaddaa, which is just one of the party places where we like to have parties and dance parties and costume parties and that kind of thing in Star Wars. But I did want to bring a couple. Maybe we can just go around and each talk about a favorite or two of the kind of events that you can have that aren't just these out like board games like we just talked about. But my favorite event in games is the Amazing Race. And I know we've talked about this before. In fact, you could probably look up, sometime in the last 360 episodes. How many do we have now? 368. This is episode 368.
Wow.
Jeez.
Wow.
I feel like yesterday was 300.
If somebody's new to the podcast today, that we were just talking about this last week or in the last couple of weeks, if somebody's new to our podcast today and wants to listen to an old podcast a day, it would take them a year listening to one every day to get through our backlog.
But don't do that.
But don't do it. We do not recommend doing that.
Do it.
Anyway, Amazing Race. We've described it before. You get a clue. So you have a group of people. You get a clue to some location in the galaxy. You have to go to that location. And once you get there, if it's the right location, there'll be another, game runner who will give you a challenge. And that challenge might be you've got to duel me, and it doesn't matter who wins or lose, but you just got to duel to the end. Or you've got to, you've got to take all your gear off. I never wear gear, so I would have, bang, got that one done. Whatever it is, or answer a trivia question. There's a clue and a challenge, then you get the next clue and you go to the next place. That's the Amazing Race. That's the Amazing Race TV show. That's how it works. We did that in Star Wars years ago now. This is probably, 5 or 6 years ago is the first time we did it. And now we're doing it across MMOs. It's one of my favorite player invented. The original founder of the Star Wars Guild, Pellel, invented it. He thought it would be interesting and designed the first version in game. And now we do it in World of Warcraft and we do it other places. That's my favorite. Who wants to go next?
I'll go next. I always like a good costume lineup.
Yes.
I like to see what everyone's
on right now. Let me see which costume you have on right now.
Well, I'm in my menacing costume.
Yes,
I'm a menacing Inquisitor.
You got the John Lennon glasses on. John Lennon was terrifying. Oh, look at this.
No, they're my Knight of the General's glasses.
Oh yeah, and these aren't your oven mitts. That's a Jedi outfit.
Yeah, that's a Jedi outfit.
Yeah. And this game's better for it than people expect. So yeah.
Right. And I'm just endlessly amazed at what people come up with.
Right.
Now, I didn't switch to this character because of her outfit. I was gonna extricate you, but you got yourself out of your fix.
Oh yes, thank you.
By your own means.
I keep telling people you give me 30 seconds in any zone anywhere in Star Wars and I'll get stuck.
Yeah. Right.
Nick, what's your favorite that I made?
That what?
What event did I create that you love?
Well, Mega, the monthly Epic Guild activity. Typically on Mega. Friday. But
yes.
Anyway,
but Mega's a day. What's the event? And you've done some of them with us, Nick.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, generally, I'm fascinated with some of like the decorating contests, not because I like participating in them. I am terrible at things like that. I can never get things to clip properly in the right spot.
Same.
But I could like to like sort of marvel from afar at what other people can do. I know Sith Lord Brit hosted like a Stronghold decorating competition that I really appreciated like seeing. But that's definitely, I'm awful at those. But that's always cool to see. Like I know Marcus tricks out his Strongholds pretty substantially as well.
It's inspiring to see people do that stuff.
Yeah, but I am absolutely terrible at it.
Marcus, how about you?
So I'm going to call it in-game parties, but it's really in-game like sub events and we make a party out of it. So my all-time favorite event that we've made is Where in the Galaxy is Sema San Diego. And it's exciting for everybody but Sema, because Sema essentially goes to one location and just has to make sure she doesn't log out of the game. And it's like, I would say it's like a subversion of The Amazing Race with our own little twist. And it's usually based on just one planet. And you basically tour the entire planet. You have to kill trash to collect these gray items and be able to unlock the next step.
Oh, the gray items.
Then, that was a fun night. Yeah.
Yep. And, sometimes it's RNG too, because you could kill 15 of these enemies and they don't actually drop it, but they actually drop it for another person. And then the last one we laid out the rules. And then all of a sudden we saw in guild chat.
In general.
In general chat. Yep. One of the guildies was asking people if they had these items and they would pay big credits for them because they wanted to get it. Yeah.
Who's always got an angle.
Yes. But those are what make us, and we're all laughing about it the whole time. And then the ending, Lucy helped us with the last one. And where Sema was, we made the backstory is there's a world boss called the Grandfather. And at the end, the last clue was Sema was captured by her grandfather and you had to go save her. And you essentially died because it's a world boss and you're one person.
Yeah.
And that's how you won.
Yeah. Yeah, that was,
a good one. But, even when they created, what's the stronghold? Oh, man, it's Rishi. So they created a new stronghold and I don't know, a year or two ago. And what was special about it is they made a PvP area. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people don't want to do PvP against people they don't know because of toxicity or they're just not comfortable. So what did we do? We created our own PvP event with just guildies and it was very lighthearted. And the most popular one was everybody against Max. And,
wonder why
and it always, yep. And, just those little events or up on the top on like this, I don't know, what do they call it when you're floating in space in the Rishi stronghold?
In the sky deck of the
sky deck.
Yeah.
When that first came out, there's a hut ball map, and we would teach guildies how to play hut ball.
Yeah.
And it's not in a super competitive way. I mean, anytime there's a scoreboard and a timer, there's a little competition, but it's different when you're playing with your friends. And Max is able to explain, or B. Kavanaugh or somebody is able to explain the rules and like teach people how to pass the ball.
Right.
Teach people how to get the ball and all of the mechanics involved. And then you play a couple matches and everybody gets a little taste of what it would be.
Yeah.
We've done so many things.
And then I just don't want to let it go by without talking about it. The pod race around the fleet, the speeder race around the fleet.
That was fun too. Yeah.
Especially because you always have somebody that's riding the log. Trying to go around on Kai Zyken's log. Here we go. It's slower than walking speed.
Do you have the log on that tune?
Yeah, here it is. You'll see it in just a second. Obviously, there's a little delay on the stream there. There it is.
Oh, but yeah, there's so many different events that we have been able to do.
See, Ashley's walking faster than the log is going.
Yeah.
It stutters. Sometimes it'll go a little faster. Sometimes it'll go slower. But yeah, tons of awesome events. Certainly think this stuff up. Think it up in real life. Think it up in game. I encourage everyone to do this kind of thing, especially right now. It's dark. It's cold. I was just saying it's a high of 15 degrees Fahrenheit here in Chicago today. That's the high for the day. So do this kind of thing. We highly recommend it. With some of the other community members have done this. Swtor has done amazing events where she's given out. I think she did this on the fleet. She gave out like 200 of the floor sweep emotes, and there was like 200 people in the Imperial fleet all just sweeping it around the inner ring, just standing.
Yeah,
there
that was
sweeping.
awesome.
So that kind of thing brings people together. It's fun and unique, and it's content you own, which is the more that the games can enable that, the better for the game. I completely agree that player generated content can be just as good, if not better, than anything that's developed in the game. So, all right, I think with that, we can wrap up this special episode. We've got a con to get back to and peruse. What do we got going on right now? We've got casual games are about to start. I think we're finishing up Forgotten Waters and a D&D session. And then tomorrow morning, we're going to start off again with the board gaming panel, which will be 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern, and another D&D and casual game session around there just after lunch. Please come join us. What's that?
No, nothing. Go ahead.
Yeah, please come join us for this.
Right, you don't have to be a member of AIE.
Right, and anybody out there, please come join us to either directly to sit in or to join in Discord or on Twitch. You can find all of the information about our guild, and in the upper right is a link to all the information about the con at aie-guild.org. That's really cool. Marcus and Nick, why don't you tell us where people can find you and catch up with you this weekend and beyond?
Nick, you can go first.
So I am on Twitter. You can find me. I'm at Nick Vern. That's NICKVERN. And of course, you can find us. You can always get a hold of either of us in the Working Class Nerds Discord. Marcus?
Excellent.
Yes, you can check me Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday nights, twitch.tv/MarcusB814 and watch me fail at video games. You can find me on Twitter at MarcusB814, but mostly the easiest way to find us is in the AIE Discord or in the Working Class Nerds Discord. We're always lounging around.
Yes. And I never ask you, Sema, but I'll go ahead and ask you tonight. Where can people find you, Sema?
You can find me on our guild Discord. That's the easiest way to get to me. And if you've never joined our Discord, then you can go to aie-guild.org, and there's a big Discord button there, and that's how you can find us.
Yep. Smash that button.
Smash that.
Smash.
Yeah. Ring
the bell and smash the like button. And see right here in the upper right of the guild website. Is it going to be clipped under? No, there it is. Everybody can see it. And right below it, I added the con detail page, which has got its own page for this weekend's con. And with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
What are you guys talking about in here?
Find out next episode of Working Class Nerds.